Alright. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Praise to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Alright, shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Alright, Brother Kapash.
Tazapar, brother Tazapar.
Yeah, man, shalom to the ancient men, women, the men and women in this truth, the children that are enduring the temptations, lust, and the demons, enduring until we see Yahushua, right? But yeah, all praise to the Most High. So again, another live, I'm going to touch on the topic of, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence. And hey man, this is quite it's quite a big, big topic, man. Quite hey man, like, I kind of go to some precepts, kind of go into it because the kingdom of heaven really is a people in it, but it really is a people in it, you know. I'll go into them precepts that kind of show that, but nonetheless, man, brother's got some points, right, that will kind of show how the kingdom of heaven ain't suffer violence, man. Right, screen was going yellow. Right? So it's the book of. Right, so again, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, man. So this is Ezekiel chapter 9, and I'll start at verse. I'll start at 4. Ezekiel 9 and 4. And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh, and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst of it. So there's men and women, obviously, right, that they see the wickedness that's done unto them, unto us as a nation, because we can't think on an individual mindset when it comes to this truth. Right? You have to really have a mindset where you sigh and cry for the abominations that be done in the midst of it. In the midst of what? In the midst of Jerusalem, right? And Jerusalem, obviously going into, like it says, get that as well, right? It's Jerusalem, right? It says it's the mother of us all. Now, Jerusalem isn't the mother of the Edomites, the Elamites, right? The Canaanites, the Egyptians, the Moabites. That's not the mother of them, is it? All right. This is Galatians 4, verse 26, which is showing you that this is talking about. This book is talking to the Israelites in the book or the letter of Galatians. It reads Galatians 4 and 26. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. Right, and obviously the free that it's talking about, this is an allegory going into the law of bondage and the law of liberty, right? So Jerusalem, the mother of us all, right, meaning who the children of Israel. And in the midst of Jerusalem, which is the mother of us all, we can see the abominations that are done in the midst of us, which we don't. Verse, well, I just wanted that really, right? Let's go to the book of Micah, right? Micah chapter 2, verse number 10. It's the book of Micah, chapter 2, and verse number 10. It reads, Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you even with a sword destruction. So you can see the abominations and the things that are done unto us as a nation of people. Hey, this is a sword destruction. It's not a place you should be. Oh, I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to be here. Obviously, we give thanks to the Most High for being alive, able to move, but ultimately, we're in a body that's in sinful flesh, a sinful nature to it. We're in a place where it's impurities. We're in a place where, hey, our people are shot, killed, murdered, raped, kidnapped, trafficked, sold throughout the world as commodities and made to either become toys for these elites, or even, hey, they sell your organs, your placenta, your body parts. Right? That's not that's real. That really happens. This is why this place is not your rest. Right? This is why this place is not your rest. Right? Let me get one more. Right? And actually, right, I get one more in my past. Look at a classic, man. Right? The classic precept, man. Right? Right? The classic precept, Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the face of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So the classic, man. Right? Because this world, though it is, everything that goes on is ordained of and by Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. That's why you have the wicked in rulership right now. That's why you have, I think I was watching a video on Twitter and it was showing these so-called Palestinians, because the Palestinians really go back to the Philistines, who were a Hamitic race or nation, right? That's their ancestor rather, who was a dark, right? They were they were watching on like a an aircraft, seeing how these people were kind of walking towards, trying to get the food, and then it said that moments kind of like after this, and they kind of bombed there, and they weren't even doing anything, just trying to get food and whatnot. And these people, they bombed them, and they probably said what they say, man. So you can see that the earth today, man, is given into the hand of the wicked, and obviously that's just another nation. Both of them are other nations, but chiefly our people, we face the brunt end, or the brunt end rather, of the hand of the wicked. Right? Can't look at it.
Yeah, yeah, that's a mighty point as well because like the title says, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence. So you know the ultimately the children of Israel or the Israelites, we would be the actual judges of the earth. So ultimately, the kingdom of heaven really should be ruled by the Israelites. That's why it says here in Job 9:24 that the earth was given into the hand of the wicked, and he covereth the faces of the judges thereof. So the true judges are the Israelites. And like the brother said, we're just bearing the brunt of this whole hand of the wicked. Like so. Okay, let me get Job if you can. Job, I think it's 19. Yeah, Job 19. Job 19, because just to show about the wicked, this is Job 19 and 29. Yeah, Job 19 and 29. It says, "Be ye afraid of the sword, for wrath bringeth the punishments of the sword, that ye may know there is a judgment." And that sword, that would be the Esau at this point in time. He's the one that the Most High is using to bring us that punishment. He would be the wicked. There's many precepts on him being the wicked. Lord willing, we'll get into them. So yeah, I just wanted to start off with maybe like the classic Psalms 83, because we're going into the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, but whoever's ruling the heaven at that time would be the ones that are the ones in charge, really. Like, so heaven is like a rulership, so whoever's ruling right now has the kingdom. This is Psalms 83. I'll start at 2. It says, "For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lift up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So now these enemies, this is their prime objective, is to keep us from knowing who we are, to cut us off from being a nation. A nation that is divided, it can't stand against it'll just, like it says, a kingdom divided against itself shall not stand. It's the same with a nation. You can't have a nation of people all doing different things and not being on one accord. In fact, it won't be a nation. It'll be divided. So that's their ultimate goal, is to cut us off from remembering and knowing who we are. Yeah, so verse 5, it says, for they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. Yeah, so this is the classic precept. Like, a lot of us should know about this. But we're gonna go into these enemies, because it's saying, the Most High is saying here in verse 2, or through David, you know, or a psalm of Asaph, that these are his enemies. Yeah. So verse 6, it says, the tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarenes, Gebal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre or Tyre. So basically, now these are our main enemies. Yeah, like it says in Sirach. Let's get that. Sirach 12 and 8. Just quick couple preliminaries. Sirach 12 and verse 8. Yeah. And it reads, Sirach 12 and verse 8. And it reads, never, no, verse 10. It's like 12 and verse 10. Says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. So, this is why we shouldn't be trusting these other nations. We use this ultimately for Esau, but really it's all the other nations. We have to have them all in, they're all in the same precept of Psalms. So we have to treat them all the same, you know? And they've, like it says in Maccabees, First Maccabees, was it? Let me get that as well. I'll get two more. First Maccabees, chapter 2 and verse 2 and verse 10. First Maccabees 2 and verse 10, and it reads, what nation have not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoil? So look, saying there, her, like meaning Israel, because Israel is likened unto that woman. And it says, who hasn't had a part in her kingdom? So really, this kingdom is for Israel, and every other nation has had their hand to play in the downfall, not just Esau. I know he's the primary target or the primary enemy, like it says in Psalms 83 is the first, but all nations have had their part to play in it, and I'll get one more. If you could go to, was it Maccabees? First Maccabees chapter 3 and verse, I'll start at 51. First Maccabees 3 and 51. It says, for thy sanctuary is trodden down and profane, and thy priests are in heaviness and brought low. So this is at a time where we lost our sanctuary, we lost our dwelling place, our rest, like it says in Micah 2 and 10, and we were brought low, like it goes into in Lamentations, I think 1 and chapter 2. So at verse 52 it says, and lo, the heathen are assembled together against us to destroy us. What things they imagine against us thou knowest. So even there it's saying, what what things are these nations thinking about when they gather together in them rooms and they're doing the Psalms 83 and confederate and being confederate and coming against us? What are they actually imagining against us? Thou knowest, you know. So this is deeper than just, you know, what your average person would be thinking. Like, it's actually deeper than that, you know. So yeah, you got it, King. You got it.
Come on, and just even adding on to what the brother was saying, like it says, man, they assemble together, so when you see those big meetings, those G7s, and you even have people amongst your own people that are confederate with that, man. And that's just really that's wicked as hell. Right? That is wicked as hell, man. When you go into it's like First Maccabees, and all of that is for what, man? That money, you know. That's that individual like kind of spirit, man. So this is First Maccabees 1, verse number. I'll read 11. It says, "In those days there went out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded men, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow." So you even have people who got sellouts, right? An example of that. Right, what's that guy? Judas, Wild Bill O'Neill. Yeah, that's the guy. Right, he was a sellout, and then he ended up killing himself. You know, how old was he? So he died age 40, suicide by running into a freeway. See, and that's like Judas, man. See, that's exactly like Judas, right? So, and that's why they call it Judas and the Black Messiah. So you had wicked men that they were confederate with these these other nations, man. But praise to the Most High. We have a Redeemer, right? Who shall save us, right, out of Barshimi Shai, out of this oppression, man, out of this land that is not our rest. Man. This is Psalm 72, and I'll start from verse 2. It says, "He shall judge the people with righteousness, and thy poor with judgment. The mountain shall bring peace to the people, and little hills by righteousness. He shall judge the poor of the people. He shall save the children of the needy, and shall break in pieces the oppressor." Right? Who's that talking about? It's talking about Yahweh Shem Shai. You see Shai being the one that's gonna break in pieces, like it says, in Daniel 2, about Yahweh Shai being that redeemer to save us out of the hand of our oppressors, right? Because that's what we need deliverance from. Because again, hey, we have our own people, that want us to be joined unto the heathen to make a covenant with them, right? You also, let's get that as well, right? Let's get that in the book of Matthew, chapter 26, and see that? It's Matthew chapter 26, verse 14. Then one of the 12, called Judas Iscariot, went unto the chief priests, right? So Judas, he had the bag, right? And some of our people, that's their mindset, is the bag. Rather than how do you save the nation? You got idiots that come up to us, man, and they say, I believe in myself. But they can't deliver. They can't even deliver themselves, right? Let alone deliver the nation, right? Hey, man, like I was saying in Sabbath school, hey, when you have sticks in a bundle, they're harder to break. The more and more sticks come out of that bundle, the easier and easier that that the even easier it becomes to break those or break the stick or sticks, man. So when you're sat at home, you're kicking back rather than being out on highways and byways, man, or building up the nation according to the will and way of Yahweh Shem Shai. Really, hey, you gotta get up off of that sofa, man. Kind of gotta get out there. You don't want to have that spirit of, having the bag, man, or being comfortable. Right, it's Matthew 26 and 15. I said unto them, what will ye give me, and I will deliver him unto you? And they covenanted with him for 30 pieces of silver. Right, so some people, for them to sell the people out, or for them to sell their own nation out, it takes money, right? And that's a shame. That's a real big shame. But let me jump down to verse number, it's Matthew 26. Let me jump down. But just like Judas, he killed himself. Right? He killed himself as well, man. Right? You see that? So he got paid just like that guy, Bill O'Neill. That might even be Judas in the regeneration. Right? But this is Matthew 27 and 3. And Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself and brought again 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders. People say, okay, but the Jews, it was all of them. They rejected him. No, right? Read the precepts, man. You're trying to come up and trying to save the heathen, right? Luke 9:22 tells you the chief priests, the scribes, I believe it is, and the elders. That were the ones. It wasn't everyone. Nicodemus, he didn't, deny Yahushua. So reading on, it says, verse 4, saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And we're the innocent blood. Right? We're that innocent blood, man. Right? Again, we're, to some degree, because there's a judgment. Really, a lot of what happens to our people is part of the curses, man. It's part of our disobedience unto the Most High. And what we get, right, quick precept, right, is less, way less, man, than people was complaining, oh, well, what's happening now is that, hey, look at some of these, what was happening a couple hundred years ago, man, or even 50 years ago, not too long ago, things that were happening, man, that were inhumane, that you don't see happen on a regular basis. Certain states and whatnot, certain places within and without the world, it was a norm to just see dead bodies. Right? This is Job chapter 11 and 6. And that he would show thee the secrets of wisdom, that they are double to that which is. Know therefore that Yahweh exacteth of thee less than thine iniquity deserveth. So really, that's the Most High showing us mercy, man. We didn't have to go through being lynched, right? Well, and again, like we're gonna go, Lord willing, we go into it, man. You're seeing a rise in lynchings again, man. We're seeing these things kind of come back up in the earth, and really, that goes back to that white supremacist kind of mindset that these Edomites have in their mind, to make us remember and know, hey, you're still in slavery, nigga. That's what they make. That's what they want to make you think. You're trying to get these big jobs. Now they're throwing rocks through your window. You're trying to be the president, whatever it was. You can't really be the president and be in this truth, right? But going back to it, Matthew 27 and verse 4, saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, what is that to us? See thou to that. So when you sell your own people out, they say, yeah, you deal with that, right? It says verse 5, and he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed and went and hanged himself. So that same guy that sold his own people out, I remember, I think Fred Hampton at the time, and he was like, what? I think he was 21 years old when they got rid of him, right? A 19-year-old boy, I think 19 or 21, right? But maybe one more precept, two more precepts, right? We're going to the point right? Even Tobit, man. Because this is really the spirit of our people today, where we see, and you can see our people being, you know, judged. Because ultimately it's judgment. Ultimately it's injustice that's done on our people, against our people. But that's why you really have to come and keep the commandments from Bar Shemi Shai for your faith. Because otherwise, you're going to die in your sin. You're going to die knowing or not knowing. Because you're gonna get that told to you really when you read Revelation. It tells you about the book of life and people will be judged out of that. So this is Tobit 1 and verse number, right? Tobit 1 and verse number 17. Am I close to the naked? And if I saw, because like people do, I think had the brothers in HOY and W5 Chicago, but for both from Chicago, they kind of done like a food drive. They're kind of giving out some food and whatnot to the poor of our people, man. Right? It says, and if I saw any of my nation dead or cast about the walls of Nineveh, I buried him. Because, hey, they sling our bodies out on the floor in public. People are watching, right? They're happy. Yeah, look at that. You see these pictures, man. Right? We might go into it, we might not, but it says, verse 8, it says, and if the king Sennacherib had slain any, when he was come and fled from Judea, I buried them privily. For in his wrath he killed many, but the bodies were not found when they were sought for by the of the king rather. So hey, essentially, man, this whole thing of our people being slain, being killed, this is not a new thing. This is not a new thing where people randomly go and they're disappearing. I kind of searched something because there was one thing I seen. We had so-called black women that were just mysteriously disappearing. They go to these beaches and now they're not found. They go in here, now they're not found. You know, I got one more. It's Matthew chapter 11 and verse number 12. Because the kingdom of heaven is not, and again, heaven really is just because remember you got the three heavens. The heaven that we can see, and that Revelation 18 tells you about the unclean birds that are in that heaven. You got the heaven above that, and the heaven where the Most High is, right? Heaven, when you're in heaven, see that heaven really, like just like juxtaposing it with hell, heaven, as we live now, it's like an estate, right? It's like an estate that you're in. We're living in hell. This is not our. That's why it says this is not our rest, right? You have to go to shop at Lidl, right? At Lidl, I don't know where the meats come from. Or you are say, I know you try Aldi, right? Some people are saying M&S. But point being is that, and we don't know where this food comes from, right? The clothes they said now it's 100% cotton, and you don't even know, right? I could just say it's 100% cotton and give it to you, right? But point being, hey, this is not your rest, man. This is Matthew 11, and I'll start from verse number 11. It says, verily I say unto you, among them that are born of women, there have not arisen a greater than John the Baptist. So he was a mighty man, right? Notwithstanding, he that is, no, not this, like that. Right, reading up verse 12. Matthew 11 and 12. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. See that? So these people, they take it by force, literally take it by force. Because what they do in 70 AD, they made the Israelites flee into all four corners of the earth, man. So yeah, of course they take it by violence. And if yet, of course, the kingdom of heaven, right, it suffereth violence, right? But yeah, Khan, you got anything?
Yeah, and just there, even though even it says about the kingdom of heaven suffer violence. So if this is actually if this isn't a state like of being, then how is heaven suffering violence? Surely heaven is supposed to be like pure and clean and and holy and no evil there. Do you know what I'm saying? So this is how you know that whoever is ruling this earth, because like it says in Matthew 6, it says, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven." So just like there's a rulership in heaven, there's a rulership on earth, and that's what this is going into. And I kind of wanted to like, if you're there, bro, if you could just like maybe let me share my screen. Let me share my screen. Share screen. I'll do it. Entire screen. System audio. All right. Right. I just wanted to play this video quickly. Let me know if you can hear it or if you can hear me still.
Right. Yeah, we did it.
Can you hear me? Can you hear the look, I'll just play it anyway because I don't want to. I'm not too good on this, so I'm just gonna play it still. Lord willing, you can hear.
We sure did do it. What you think? What you think we do when we take y'all young men camping with us? We know them boys don't know how to swim. Yeah. You throw them in that water. We say, swim, boy, swim. Whoa, learn how to swim, boy. You can't do it. You can't do it, boy. Y'all ain't ever going to learn how to swim. Yeah. Yeah, they did it. Them boys did it. This is a damn tradition for us. Yeah. This is a tradition. We take you boys out in the woods. We throw you in the swamp. We throw you in the creek. We throw you in the springs and rivers. Yeah, we throw you in them oceans. Y'all can't do a damn thing. Y'all be in there splashing and screaming, I can't swim. I can't swim. Oh, hell no. But it ain't our fault. It ain't our fault you're fucking stupid. Grown man don't know how to swim. Yeah, what y'all think we do? Yeah, it's a big conspiracy. Every 6 months this skin tone, we all get together in our neighborhoods and we have like a little neighborhood meeting. Y'all ain't invited. We get together, we make plans, we talk about y'all, talk about, yeah, let's put this one in football, let's put this one in basketball. Yeah, let's encourage him to do that and this. Yeah. We bet on y'all. Man, we just play y'all like a damn game and y'all don't even know it. This is a tradition. Been going on since the beginning of time. And y'all still in the dark. And I thought I'd go ahead and tell you, but even me telling you, it's still just gonna be conspiracy and nobody's gonna be able to prove it. Yeah. This happens all around the nation. All of us are involved. Every single one of us. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. You got that.
Can you hear me? All right, let me stop sharing. Yeah. Can you hear me now? Yeah, you there? But yeah, see, Lord willing, like brothers and sisters saw that clip, man. When I saw it, I was kind of confounded, but you know, when you know the precepts, it's not confounding. Like, it's like, you know, this is what Esau primarily does. Do you know what I mean? Like he said, like, even when we tell y'all that we do it, you're still not gonna um believe you're gonna be like, oh, it's conspiracy this. And you know that was that Nolan Wells, you know, when he went on the trip with these Edomites, and then, you know, ended up, you know what I'm saying, getting caught out there, you know what I'm saying. So this is why we need to know our enemy, man. You can't be fighting an enemy and you don't understand who they are, what they look like, what they're about. Do you know what I'm saying? That's why we need to be in these precepts, you know. And I'll get Obadiah, yeah, Obadiah chapter 1 and verse. I'll start at 8. Yeah, I'll start 8. So Obadiah verse 8, it says, shall I not in that day, saith Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau. So even the Most High is saying in that day, he's gonna take away the understanding and the wise men, you know, like all their witches, their warlocks. Do you know what I'm saying? They're gonna be taken away, you know. Verse 9, it says, and thy mighty men. So all their mighty men, you know, all their top priests, their top, you know, anyone on the left hand side, he's gonna take away. O Teman shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. Verse 10, it says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. And this has been a perpetual thing. Like, even when, you know, when Isaac blessed Jacob instead, you know, Esau, he couldn't handle it. Esau couldn't handle it, you know. So it's always been a perpetual hatred from Esau. So I'll start Genesis 27, and I'll start at 38. Yeah, it says, and Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. So this is why he has everything. This is why Esau, he you know, he's just in the midst of all sorts of big funding, like the oil, you know, like, you know, they had the petrodollar. So even all the oil around the earth is being sold in dollars. That's why there's a whole big thing now with the Iran and Russia, because they've had enough now of his proudness, you know. So verse 40, it says, and by thy sword shalt thou live, and shall serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass that when thou shall have dominion, thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Yeah, verse 41, and it reads, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand, then will I slay my brother Jacob. And it's the same today. It's still the same today. These are still slaying. Esau is still slaying us, Jake. You know, I just want to quickly let me share my screen again, man. So like, yeah, no, that's it. How do I share my screen? Yeah, I kind of got to get used to this. Yeah, let's go into a couple quick things quickly. So right. So yeah, this was recent. This is quite recent. Like, you know, I don't know if brothers see it or heard of it, but this Dr. Jason Arde, Yeah. The youngest black professor at Cambridge University was found dead in London on Friday after resigning last week from his job due to plagiarism accusations. He also faced accusations of embellishing his life story in his memoir published last Tuesday. So, look, they're trying to say he was plagiarizing. He got into his position by doing this, doing that, and how, he embellished his life story and added things and this, that, and the other. But look, brother was found dead. Brother was found dead. Ain't that a coincidence? Well, not a coincidence, like sarcastically. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing over here. Do you know what I mean? Like when you look at when you look at this, I think I brought this up. Yeah, let me bring this up. So, look, black people hanged on a tree in the last 5 years. It says over the past 5 years, multiple black individuals have been found hanging from trees in public or semi-public spaces across the United States, including cases like Tasia Fortune and Damar Trayvon Trey Reed in September 25. Yeah. Look, it says while local authorities and medical examiners have predominantly ruled these tragic deaths as suicides. Yeah. So they're saying all of these Jakes and Eves that are found hanging, they're saying they're suicides, which is crazy because Jake, that's not a Jake thing. Jake ain't the type, and some of them, like when you read into it, some of them have been found really high up in the tree. There's no ladder in sight, you know. How is Jake and Eve doing that? It don't make no sense. So historical echoes. Now it says because many of these incidents occur in southern states with painful histories of racially motivated lynches, such as Mississippi, they evoke deep fear and widespread skepticism regarding whether local investigations are comprehensive and transparent. So, there it's like it's there, but these lot, there it's like the police and the authorities are not actually taking it serious because they know deep down that it's it is actually a lynching. And look, I just wanted to bring a few cases out as well. Yeah,
Hey,
few cases. Go
you,
on.
I think one of the brothers, I think you kind of asked the first clip that you pulled up.
Yeah, I can send it. Where shall I put it?
You can put it in the comment. See where it says post a comment. You can kind of
Okay. All right. Cool. I'll do that. Lord willing. So yeah. So this is like a bunch of cases. Yeah, because I put up a list of black people lynched in the last 10 years. They say, look, there is no official or confirmed list of people legally classified as victims of racial lynchings. So there's out of all of these cases, none of them have been confirmed to be a racial lynch, like, which is crazy. So you've got Robert Fuller found hanging from a tree in California, ruled suicide. Malcolm Harsh, 2020, found dead hanging from a tree, California. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the list goes on and on. These are just a few. I've got at least like 10, 12, So, to not go through them all, but you kind of getting the gist of it now. So this is still happening today. And just last point, there's I just want to bring out this as well. The Washington Post, yeah, it says lynchings in Mississippi never stopped. Yeah, because remember Mississippi is that South, that dirty South, Alabama and them places there. So look, it says Jackson, Mississippi. Since 2000, there have been at least 8 suspected lynchings of black men and teenagers in Mississippi, according to court records and police records. Seeing that? So, see on the other one we just read there, there's no confirmed, lynching. Like they've not put it as confirmed, but here it's saying suspected. So really, they do have it, but they haven't taken anything to court and like confirmed it basically. So it says the last record lynching in the United States was in 1981, said Jill Colin Jefferson, a lawyer and founder of Julian, a civil rights organization named after the late civil rights leader Julian Bond. But the thing is, lynching never stopped in the United States. Lynchings in Mississippi never stopped. It says the evil bastards just stopped taking photographs and passing them round like baseball cards. And that's what it was like. There was a public event. You know, they used to call it, was it like a public lynch? That's what they used to call it. And just to like, just for brothers to get this in their little book thing as well, because it's deep. We need to know about these things. These things are recent. Like it said, the recent one is in 1980. So there's a book called 100 Years of Lynching. Yeah, I don't have it on me still, but I do have this book, and there's some really bad cases in here. So basically, it's just case after case after case of like lynchings basically in America, like dating back to like the 1890s up to like 1960, 1970. So that's definitely like one to look into, just to show like that these lot, they're still doing it today, man. Yeah, look, like the brother said, the original picnics, I'm sure that went back to like something like called pick a nigger, something like that. I have heard that. Still, I have heard that, and it was a public affair every time, you know but yeah, you got it, King, you got it.
Yeah, man, and this is not just like some kind of coincidence that these things happen. You know, yeah, this is prophecy, man. Did you bring up Obadiah, where it says
Yeah, go on.
for the
Violence against our brother.
yeah, you brought that up, innit?
Yeah, I pulled that up. You can pull it up again still if you want, because we need to keep thinking about this. We need to keep reading these precepts, because we don't want to lose what the Most High has put down for us to know what our enemy is about. You know what I'm saying? Well, you got it.
Right, and ultimately these things, they go back to the curses. That's what it goes back to at the end of the day. That these things are, and these are the reasons why you don't really have that here over here in the UK as much, but mainly in the States. I believe they're trying to kind of not outlaw, but remove certain history that was, that existed regarding so-called black people, and no longer include this in the world or the national teachings within the so-called American doctrine, if you want to call it. All right, so this is Deuteronomy 28 of verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed. Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee, and they shall be upon thee for a sign, and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, man. So, let's see. I don't know if they'll flag the channel, but, right? You had public hangings. I don't know if I should put up see that? Yeah, they kind of, right, they're kind of showing this, but we put racist, right? You'll see the just wicked atrocities that were done to, the Israelites. You're not going to kind of go into it. You see these people that's smiling in front of them, right? These are the signs, these are the curses to show, who the Israelites are, right? So, so it's almost like, I think I searched something, right? Where is it? Let's see. Right, so because you know, I think I found one on Twitter. All right, but let's see, because you had this. Well, that this is I don't know what place this is at, but you know, if you search that, you will see. And this was recently. You know, people trying to say they're trying to ask Grok if this actually happened. You know, so um, hey, you know, I've kind of played this as well. Wait, is it? Can you hear the sound?
Do you have to share the audio with it as well?
Yeah, when you were playing the videos, you could hear them perfectly fine.
Yeah, could you hear me as well though?
Yeah, but I don't think you could hear me when I was talking.
Okay.
That was it.
Alright, cool. And how do you send the? Can I send it to you and then you put it through the chat, that
Just put it
video?
in the chat. You can just put it where it
Yeah,
says comment,
yeah.
post a comment.
Because it's in a Telegram thing, I don't know how to do that still.
Copy the link.
Yeah, if you copy it, yeah, if I copy it and then put it in the chat, it just says video from Taz, but I don't know if it actually is the video.
No, I don't think. No, it would not come up.
No, I don't think that is it still. No, look, it
No.
just says video from Taz. I might have to download it and then do it. Yeah, so,
If you send it to me, I can send it to the brother still.
alright, cool.
Right. So just to hear what the video this guy is saying, right?
When a black person is found hanging from a tree and police quickly call it a suicide, the reaction in the African American community is often immediate and deeply personal.
Earlier today, Delta State staff discovered a deceased individual on campus.
There's no evidence of foul play.
No evidence of a threat to campus, and there's no evidence that the campus is unsafe at this point.
The family of Trey Reed has not even received a phone call.
It is not just because of the death itself, but because of what the image has meant in this country for generations. See, black Americans carry the memory of slavery, slave patrols, slave catchers, lynchings, torture, and brutal mutilation. After emancipation, the terror did not end. It evolved through white supremacist violence, including the KKK, the nation's first domestic terrorist group, which used.
And I don't even know if they're classified as being a terrorist group actually, because they'll say, I don't know, they'll say this, but certain. Let's see. Right, let's just see. Man. Is let's say according to the U.S. government. See, so the U.S. government, the U.S. federal government, only thing federal about them is the fact that this group, well, we know why, does not officially designate or classify domestic groups, including the KKK, as formal terrorist organization. While the U.S. does states the list of FT, see that? So the FBI, you know, Department of Homeland Security, they categorize them as a domestic hate group or white supremacist extremist group rather than a designated terrorist organization. But really, that's they are what they are, isn't it?
Public hangings, mutilation, and fear to enforce racial control. So when a modern case resembles the same old imagery, suspicion is not irrational, it is historical. That's why families and friends of the deceased often reject the first official explanation.
So we're going to sit here and listen to this guy, saying what he's going to say, but point being is that there's obviously an injustice, and even these things, And it don't stem from nowhere. The brother brought out Genesis 27. Right, really that goes back to Genesis 4, man. Right, this is Genesis 4, verse number 8. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. So that's the same spirit that Esau and he inherits, man. You know, that lot of Cain and wanting to slay his brother, like the brother brought out in Genesis 27, I think 41 and down. It's the same thing, right? So this is you get Psalms 50, and I'll start from verse number Psalms 50, and I'll start from verse 20, right? Because really, this is going into the wicked, right? It says Psalms 50 and 20. Thou sittest and speakest against thy brother, thou slanderest thine own mother's son, right? Going on, it says, these things hast thou done, and I kept silence. That's why it says, like in Psalms 83, I think it says, keep not thou silence, O Lord. You know, thou that thoughtest that I was altogether such an one as thyself, but I will reprove thee and set thee in order before thine eyes. Right? So I know another precept on that as well, Psalms 55. Right, Psalms 55, the classic. Right, Psalms 55 and verse number start from Psalms 55 and verse 20. It says, he have put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He have broken his covenant. So Esau, like it says, and another precept, right? What's that? Songs of Solomon. Right, it says about your mother's children, right? So I get that. Songs of Solomon. So the nations round about, and again, chiefly Esau. You say, why is it so? Why Esau? Because that's the like you have a rivalry in it. You know, those are the two. You got the antagonist and the protagonist of today's world, right? According to the Bible, right? Really got the sons of God versus sons of men. All right. So this is Songs of Solomon. Where is that? 1 and verse. I'm not gonna be able to find it. If I follow it, I'll find it. Songs of Solomon. Because it says something along the lines of, my mother's children were angry with me. All right. Let's see if I can get that.
He might look not upon me because I am black.
I think so.
That one.
I think it is that one. Yeah, see that? So, and this is our people are black, man. Bro, say, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Black in its entirety isn't just really, it's not, we understand that it's not just your skin color, right? We can't teach people you're black. We didn't see that. You're not black. And I say, okay, this is black, right? Is it often teach that? No, it's not. But this is really going into affliction. Our people are being afflicted. That's these judgments that happen to our people. That's that black angel, right? That's really, kind of it's like a principality that's over us, man. So Songs of Solomon 1 and 5, and black but comely, O ye doors of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. So, really dark saying, going into how we're afflicted. We're in affliction, but even in our affliction, right? So even in our affliction, what happens to us, man? Right? This is Exodus 1 and verse number 12. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and the more it's like, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. That's why we're coming, right? Yes, yes, we're the best looking, yes, right? It's okay, we know that, but hey, the Bible is more than just how somebody looks. We understand, yes, man, but again, the affliction, you know, that's what is making us black. We're a comely and delicate woman, but we're black because of affliction, right? When you go back to it, it says verse 6, so in Song 1 and 6, look not upon me because I am in affliction, essentially, because I am black, because the sun have looked upon me. And when the sun looks upon you, which the sun is beaming down on our people, man. Right? The sun is beaming down, right? We're not talking about the Genesis 1 and 14 and 15 sun, right? The sun has different meanings, right? Sun can have a connotation to hope and light and wisdom. It can also have, a connotation to affliction, judgment, or, because when we read Matthew 13, it says the sun, about the heat, the heat being on you, right? That's really what makes you black, really what makes you afflicted. So because the sun had looked upon me, my mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards, but my own vineyard have I not kept. See, so my mother's children were angry with me. So going back to really all these nations, man, right? Going back to the Edomites, Moabites, all these nations, man, right? It says, going back to Psalms 55 and 20, he have put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He have broken his covenant. So again, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but woe was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So they were kind of ready to what man? To destroy you. They're always ready to destroy us, man. There's always some next conspiracy, some next agenda. How can we vaccine everyone that's a simple black man, woman, child, Hispanic, Native American? How can we displace them? How can we get rid of them? How can we do this? Put down crack in the chicken, man, or whatever, man. Right? So let's get the book of Psalms, chapter 62, and verse number. What's that, man? Right, Psalms. What's that, man? Right, I told you, I think maybe Psalm 61. Right, I told you about secret councils. Might be 60. All right, let's see. All right. I don't even know if I can spell. All right, so wow, that's off. All right, Psalms should be Psalms 60. Yeah, see that? Psalm 64 and verse number. I'll start from 1. Psalm 64 and 1. Hear my voice, O Yahweh, and my prayer, preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Right? So really, if you're not praying, you're not fasting, you ain't going to be delivered, are you? Right? It says, verse 2, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. Right? Because, hey, man, like we, brother kind of going into, even here in the UK, you have, certain groups. They highlight advocacy groups, charities, and whatnot. They highlight systemic disparities, right? And really, disparity, is like there's a higher level when it comes to, these people, really, right? In how missing person cases involving black individuals, and obviously it's not just blacks, right? The 12 tribes isn't just blacks, right? We have to, expand the knowledge in that, man. But obviously you have so-called Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians and whatnot, right? those that are in the diaspora, those that bear witness to the scriptures, right? But obviously here we're harping on the point of so-called blacks, right? Particularly black women and girls, are managed and perceived in the UK. Research indicates that minority ethnic, and again, I personally don't like the whole term of minority ethnic missing person. That's crap. That's not it, because that's trying to kind of highlight and make it seem like, okay, it's all of no, it's not all of them, right? Often face longer disappearance durations, lower risk allocations, and reduced media visibility compared to their white counterparts. So that's a fact, right? So look, it says data from the National Crime Agency and policing bodies show black people account for roughly 14% of missing person reports in England and Wales, a disproportionate figure relative to the general black population. So basically, hey, they're saying that's not really it. That's not it, man. Whatsoever. Right? That's not it. That's why we need to be delivered, man. That's why we need to, you know, this is not like again, this is not our rest, man. Right? This is Lamentations Lamentations 4. Right? Another point, man. Lamentations it tells you about them being right black. Lamentations 4, verse 7. Their visage is blacker than a coal, right? They are not known in the streets. Their skin cleaveth to their bones. It is withered. It is become like a stick. They that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger. For these pine away, stricken for want of the fruits of the field. So it's basically highlighting how, really it's better that you died being, really killed with the sword than to die with hunger rather, man. These are the afflictions of being killed with the sword, right? Being black, right? When I say being black, right? Obviously going into being in oppression, being afflicted. But I'll get one more and I'll pass it. So that's just one point showing you how Israel, right, is how we're treated, man. Right? Not Zechariah. Right, what's that? I think it's different. No, it isn't, man. Right, it tells you about, what's that, man? A nation that will not save us, man. Right, it's classic precept as well. Right, I feel like it's Zechariah there.
The Lamentations 4:17.
There we go. See that? The water. Lamentations 4:17. All right, because when you're hearing this, you feel like they're gonna save me, they're gonna protect me, they're gonna help me, they're gonna give me money, they're gonna give me benefits. That's what people think, man. Right? This place is like I'm reading a book right now, yeah. But I'll make the point and I'll pass it. But this is Lamentations 4 and verse number 17. As for us, our eyes yet failed for our vain help in our watching. We have watched for a nation that could not save us. So when you look around, look at verse 18 as well. They hunt our steps that we cannot go in our streets. Our end is near. Our days are fulfilled, for our end is come. That's why it says like oppression make a wise man mad. So when a man is sane and because he's seen what has been done to his people at Tobit and all these men, and they've seen the things of old, see they don't really remember it like this is what happened, in I don't know, around the time of the Assyrian captivity, right? But they're seeing these things, or we're seeing these things happening now, and you feel like the end has come. When you read Job, I believe it's Job chapter 5, I think it is, it tells you about you're gonna laugh at, and that's why you gotta get into the precept, man, because then you'll laugh at these judgments and these things that happen. Not like it's funny, but because that's gonna really keep your sanity, because you know that it's gonna happen. But I was gonna make a point of reading a book. It's called it's quite a good book still. right? How Africa, right? Did it go? Right, it's called how. I said how Africa underdeveloped Africa. See, they're going off, right? But the book is how Europe underdeveloped Africa, right? And the guy's name, Walter Rodney, I think it is. And in the book, he talks about capitalism. And really, you know, as Israelites, we wouldn't go according to capitalism. We'd be a theocracy, right? A theocracy, right? Theocracy means we follow the divine law of the Most High Yahweh Shem Yahushai. That's how the laws and the rules they come from holy books. And obviously, you have human leaders that rule in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, acting as like they say members of a clergy, right? But we don't deal with capitalism or this or that or whatever. But essentially, he was saying in the book about capitalism how it's. So I might have to pull up the book, man, because the book was saying he was spitting some stuff, man, right? But you got it. Let me see if I can find the book. You got it, King.
Yeah, that goes back to that whole thing as well. Like like how now we have a democracy, like, and even the Romans and that they have like a thing now. Let me get that quickly. Let me get that. Find that. It's in Maccabees, where it talks about them setting up like a senate. Where is that? Where is that? Yeah, I got it. So this is First Maccabees 8. First Maccabees 8 and chapter 8 and verse 14. It says, "Yet for all this, none of them wore a crown or was clothed in purple to be magnified thereby. Moreover, how they made for themselves a senate house wherein 320 men sat in council daily, consulting always for the people to the end that they might be well ordered." Now, how are you going to have order out of 320 people saying different things? And that's how this system is run today. You go to the House of Parliament, you go to the Senate in America. There's just loads of men, even like in the House of Parliament. Like when one man stands up and then says something, like they all cheer like they're in a football match and that. Like, do you know what I'm saying? And it's just off. It's just off. But yeah, like the brother said, a theocracy, is where it was run by like priests
Right.
and well-learned men of the law that would teach the order of things. Do you know what I'm saying? Through the Bible, basically, through the Holy Scriptures. You know.
Yeah,
So yeah, go on. You got it.
So yeah, so there's the book in it, right? And hey, there's other books. I say no, it's just the Bible. It's just the Bible. And there's other books that can they correlate to what the Bible is teaching in it, right? So this is on page quite a few points in this section where I highlighted, and so it says. So this is what it says on page number 11, right? It says the capitalist or bourgeoisie class is no longer capable of guiding the uninhibited development of science and technology. Again, because these objectives now clash with the profit motive. So capitalism is really built on the motive to, it's not about advance, it's about profit. It's not about advancing the people, it's not about really helping the people. They need people to be poor. So when you really look at the scriptures like it's a theocracy, so it doesn't teach you to leave your brother to just die on the street. Or he's poor, he's this. And Tobit was burying his people. Really, it's about and it really goes back to Esau's mindset. Really, it says going on. It says I'm gonna jump down. It says capitalism has proved incapable of transcending fundamental weaknesses such as underutilization of production capacity, the persistence of a permanent sector of unemployed and periodic economic crisis relate to the concept of market, which is concerned with people's ability to pay. So it's concerned with the people's ability to pay rather than their need for commodities. Capitalism has created its own irrational, see that? Capitalism has created its own irrationalities, such as a vicious white racism, the tremendous waste associated with advertising, and the irrationality of incredible poverty in the midst of wealth and wastage. So, it goes on. But the point is that capitalism, the market that is focused on, is about people's ability to pay rather than the need for commodities. So the system that about even going to the point of the Senate and or just this, even to about democracy. And so I'll land on that point and I'll give it back to you. So it says at the political level on verse 10, verse 10, okay, page 10, at the political level, capitalism was also responsible for most of the features which today are referred to as Western democracy. So it wasn't really focused on egalitarian tendencies where, egalitarian is really kind of the idea that people are equal, right? But it didn't have that. That's really and that's why you see the spaces up today, because it's not about sincerity or holiness. It's about the profit that can be made off of these people.
Yeah, like you were saying earlier, it's about the bag, really, isn't it?
Right.
That's why, really, like when you go to like America or you come here and you go to to the like the poorest areas, not far from there, you'll have it. It's like there's no middle class. It's like you'll go from the poorest bit, you go a few rows down the road, and now you're in some rich part. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and there's like one road that divides them. Do you know what I'm saying? That's how it is. You
Right.
know, that's why these Amalek try and sort of blend in near the certain areas where it's poverty to kind of try and fill out that prophecy, the fact that would be in the poorest areas as if it's them. Do you know what I'm saying? But really they're jumping into like flipping brand new Volvos. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they're driving to their businesses, their warehouses, doing Amazon fulfillment. Do you know what I'm saying? No, for real, you know. But yet Jake is still in the States, in them, them 5-story flipping Hackney estate looking, you know what I'm saying? And and then they claim that but yeah. So look, brother, you went into about the heat of the day. I just wanted to get one precept on that still, because that's what we're in. We're in the we're
We're in,
suffering that heat. Do you
right.
know that affliction? Because that's really what it is. Do you know what I mean? Some people might not get it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like with the whole black and affliction vibe, but ultimately, when it's talking about like when Job's saying, "My skin is black upon me," and like in Songs of Solomon 1 and 6, like look not upon me because I'm black. These things are talking about them being in a lower state.
Right.
It's actually talking about a skin color. Like the brother said, there might, a lot of camps when you see them and you're teaching and you're asked, like, what's your nationality? And they say they're black. They say, yeah, but you're not black, are you? You're not the same color as your trousers or something like that. Then how could you go into these precepts and then say that you are black? You know what I mean? It's a bit especially when you're trying to reel in the sheep, you have to have like a bit of, you know, how you teach them. You don't want to mislead them over these things. Like so, Baruch. I'm gonna go to Baruch 2 and verse 24. I'll start at 24. Baruch 2:24. It says, "But we would not hearken unto thy voice, to serve the king of Babylon. Therefore hast thou made good the words that thou spakest by thy servants the prophets, namely the bones of our kings and the bones of our fathers should be taken out of their place. So this was prophecy what the Most High said will happen if they don't serve the king of Babylon. Yeah, verse 25 it says, "And lo, they are cast out to the heat of the day
Mm.
and to the frost of the night, and they died in great miseries by famine, by sword, and by pestilence." So all these things would be classed as the heat of the day, like going through great miseries, like always, just in a down state, can't pay your bills, you know what I'm saying? Can't eat, famine, sword is a judgment, you know what I'm saying? Like it says in Job 19, and pestilence, now all these infirmities that are happening to you, do you know what I'm saying? So all these things will be classed as that heat of the day, like it says in Job, not Job, Songs of Solomon 1. I just wanted to go now to Exodus. I want to go to Exodus chapter 1 because obviously in the Psalms at the beginning about our enemies, first was Esau. I mean, we know many accounts where Esau has played that, but we'll go to 1 and 15. Exodus 1 and verse 15. Yeah, because remember, the Philistines was in there. Do you know what I'm saying? The Hamites play a role too. You know what I'm saying? So Exodus 1 and 15 it says, "And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives of the name of one was Shipra, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, When ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools. If it be a son, then ye shall kill him, but if it be a daughter, then she shall live." Come on, now this is going back way, way back. So even then, the pharaohs, the Hamites, had a decree to kill our sons off. Like imagine if Shipra and Puah listened to him, and all the handmaids and the Hebrew midwives listened to him, and then they killed off all the sons. Where would we be today? Do you see
Right.
what I'm saying? Obviously, the Most High promised Abraham he'll be his seed will be as the stars of heaven. But it's just showing you that even from then till now, there's nothing new under the sun. They're always out to try and kill us off, basically. And then if you jump to verse 22, verse 22. This was a decree that he put out as well. Verse 22 it says, "And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, Every one, it's like every son that is born, ye shall cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive." You know what I'm saying? And that's the same. Let's get that in Matthew. I think Matthew with Herod. Um, Matthew, I think it's 2. Yeah,
Mm.
Matthew 2 and 16. So again, there's nothing new under the sun. All these things are just just replays of the same thing, but different nations. So this is an Edomite now. So you had a Hamite, now Edomite. Matthew 2 and verse 16, it says, "Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem and in all the coasts thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men." So, now these lot are killing babies, really and truly. When you check it, that's the same thing with this abortion, this whole was it Planned Parenthood, really, because when they're handing out, you know, checks and money for a young Eve to basically go and get an abortion, that's basically them playing out what Pharaoh and Herod wanted done with us anyway. They would rather just the women and no men. No men. You get what I'm saying? Because remember, the man is the head of the house. So from they took the man out of the house and made the woman feel like she's like basically running things. This is where our whole nation is just upside down. You know what I'm saying? And let me get Baba Kashar. Let me get Zechariah 11.
At 5, innit?
Yeah, Khan.
Yeah, that's one I was thinking about as well, I think.
Yeah, because you know, even though these things are still happening, like it said when we was looking at that the what's it the news reports and that, like they're not these people that are doing this to our people are not being held accountable for it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you got flipping Edomites making videos talking about, yeah, that's what we do. We take y'all out there, y'all niggas out there, and we throw you in the water, say swim, boy. That's what they do. And they're proud of it, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could think that that's, I don't know, like a meme or something. Maybe it was. Maybe, like, let's just say it was. Like, the guy just wanted to make a quick couple thousand views on that vibe, yeah? He is talking truth. There's no lie in it. Even to the part where he was saying about, yeah, we have meetings, because this is him talking deeper now. This ain't him now. This is the Esau. This is the Satan put that spirit on him to say, look, we have meetings and we say, yeah, look, this one's gonna go into basketball. This one's gonna go into football. Now you got your LeBron James and your Steph Currys and your, I don't even know, the NFL, the football and all that. Lamar Jackson or something like that. I'm sure he's a football player. Do you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So this is what they do. This is nothing new. They just play the strings from behind. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, let me get that. So this is Zechariah 11 and verse. I'll start at 4. Start at 4. It says, "Thus saith Yahweh, my God, feed the flock of the slaughter." And that's what we're trying to do. When we're out on the highways and byways, we're trying to feed the flock, which is really lining up for the slaughter. If you're not actually coming to hear the word and actually, you know, get back to your nationality, get back to your heritage, these laws and these commandments, you're just waiting in line to get slaughtered. If it ain't by Yahweh Shemel Shai, be by your enemies, because he will only use them to deal with you. You know what I'm saying? Verse 5, it says, "Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty, and they that sell them say, Blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not." And that's what they're saying, man. They're saying, look, no one cares about these. When Jake and Eve go missing, whether they're young, whether they're old, no one is caring. They don't put it on the news. Like, it has to be a real serious case, like, I don't know, like George Floyd, and that's, is it Sonia Massey?
Mm.
Something like that. Yeah, unless it's something like that, you're not hearing about it. You have to really look for it. You won't see it on no articles on Google. You'll see it on some Instagram or some TikTok page. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not trying to show you these things. Because the possessors, who are these other nations, it's not always Esau. They're slaying us and they don't hold themselves guilty. Even that, what that George Zimmerman or something like that.
Mm.
What happened with him? Did he shoot? I'm sure he shot
Trade,
someone.
Trayvon Martin.
Yeah, he shot him dead, and that was it. He kind of walked free, didn't get nothing done.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's prime examples. That stuff happens today. Even there was a case like of someone I know's brother, yeah, running from the police, yeah. Yeah, he jumped up on a wall. He jumped up on a wall, yeah, to jump over. The police tasered him from behind while he was jumping up on the wall, and he fell over on the wall and landed on his head. Bro, paralyzed him. He's in a wheelchair now for the rest of his life. Paralyzed him, yeah. Not guilty. Like, the guy, you know what I'm saying? Like, He's jumping over a wall. His back is turned. You've tasered him while he's doing that. He's landed on his head. He's paralyzed and not guilty. There's many cases of this. Many cases of this. One more preset. I'll pass it. So, we need to understand who our enemy is, man. Like, we have to go to work with these. We have to see these people every day, all these other nations. You've got to kind of like the precept says, you've got to use this world and not abuse it. Like, I feel sorry for the people, especially our brothers and sisters that have to work beside these nations all day in their vicinity. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's that's the heat of the day. Do you know what I'm saying? So, Psalms 35 and verse 11. Okay. Psalms 35 and verse 11. It says, false witnesses did rise up. They laid to my charge things that I knew not. And that's another thing as well. You see here a lot of our people getting you know charged for things that they weren't nothing to do with. Do you know what I'm saying? Even like that professor that I just showed, that young black professor, so-called black. He they were laying charges to him that he probably didn't even know about. That just because of the fact that he's in Cambridge University and he's actually a professor, and has his degree and everything, they're laying charges to him because the fact that, like the brother was saying, this whole system is based off of white supremacy. So any Jake that has any form of power in this society, they're gonna try and tarnish his name, and your name is everything. Whatever you're doing in your name, that's what you are really held accountable for. That's what you're known by, you know. And I'll verse 12. It says, "They rewarded me evil for good, to the spoiling of my soul." So even like, your honest Jake, your honest Eve, they just want to do good. They just want to get by. They just want to, work, because we all have to work to get by. They just want to pay their bills, look after their family, but we're being rewarded evil for the good that we do. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, you got it, King. You got it.
Right, right. And people, this whole Bible is literally about, let's get a classic, being delivered, man. Like we had a camp, and it was a poor performance, very very poor performance. Brother talking about, and he didn't want to really hear the precepts. He really had like a notion in his mind, but sometimes you could kind of got to draw that into people that this is actually what the Bible says. No, 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 no. I already know that. They don't really know the full context of what's being spoken about. So but Luke 1 and 68. So like, yeah, let's get Baruch 1 first. Baruch 1, I think that's 6. Baruch 1, let's see. I've got this highlighted in my Bible. Right. What's in my little Bible actually? Baruch 1, and let's go to verse 1. Right. Baruch 1, and I'll start from verse number 5. Baruch 1 and 5, whereupon they wept, fasted, and prayed before the Lord. And really, that's the main thing you should do whilst you're in the land of your captivity. You have these carnal people that come up, no, that's enough is enough of doing that. Well, I don't see you. Hey, you have to raise an army in righteousness, man. You don't raise an army, and because remember, you're building a nation. Not building a damn iRobots, man, or whatever. Let's go to I'm gonna jump down to verse 12. Right, verse 12, it says, and the Lord will give us strength and lighten our eyes, and we shall live under the shadow of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and under the shadow of Belshazzar, his son, and we shall serve them many days and find favor in your sight. Right, verse 13. Pray for us also unto the Lord our God. We have sinned against the Lord our God, and unto this day the fury of the Lord and his wrath is not turned from us. So that's like you're in the heat, man. You're in the furnace, right? Let's get a classic. We're in the furnace of adversity being tried. And in that furnace, you have to have, there's obviously a two-thirds. There's obviously people that are, and that's really, you got to get right with the Most High, man. You got to get out, right? Get into this truth. Get off the damn computer. Be outside, right? Because you want to have, because we don't know when our time is. You know, we don't know when we might get jammed up. You know, police beat you up. Some kind of police brutality. You know, you die to, you know, the curse is due 28 and 54. You know, you don't want to die in that. That's it. He was known for being that brother or that sister that didn't get involved and get their hands dirty when it comes to building up or raising a family, or even yourself resurrecting yourself out of hell, man. Right? So this is Sirach 2, just a classic precept. Sirach 2 and verse, for 5, it says, "For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity." So right now we're in the heat. So heat associated with being the furnace of adversity. That's currently what we're in right now. Right? Certain places is down congested. Even here, they're saying some foolishness talking about they're gonna. I've never seen this in my life, man. Right? Right? UK banning car washes. Bro, I saw this today. These men are just idiots. They say car washes, private swimming pools could be banned to combat drought. How do you run out of water? Like, how do you actually run out of water? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you gotta really think about that. How the hell? And it's okay, we're gonna ban the car wash. How do you ban the car wash? You trying to wash someone's car, and they're saying, hold on, how many liters did you use? And you're saying, oh yeah, 2 liters. Oh, okay. Right? And you're saying, oh, I use 10 liters. Oh, that's a fine. That's a £50 fine. So these devils, how they operate is just off, man. It's witchcraft. But this is the adversity, the fire, the furnace of adversity that we have to face, right? But this is Luke 1 and 68. So there's no saving the heathen, man. There's no saving the heathen. There's no saving non-Israelites, man. Right? Could be anyone. There's no saving them. Right? This is the Most High is not even hearing their prayers. Oh yeah, he heard my prayer. I saw him late at night. I was upset. My forefathers, they done evil in the earth, and but Jesus, he made me come and came into my soul. Hey, the Lord's not dealing with that. This is Luke 1 and 68. Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he have visited and redeemed his people. His people is not every people. And the Gentiles, right? Evidently the people that he's gonna redeem, they are called Gentiles as well. Right? Because the Gentile argument for me is becoming very, very boring. Right? Obviously we're gonna we have to defend the faith, but like I saw videos of IUIC, but when they were debating about Christians, they're trying to talk about the Trinity. And the guy said to them, I see, brother. He said, so we're gonna sit here and argue about the Trinity rather than the things that can actually enlighten our people. And I was like, yeah. Well, though doctrinally you might not agree entirely what they teach, but faith in Christ and keeping the commandments, we agree with that. Teach that. That's what's needed to mend and raise up the tabernacles of David again. Right? Not damn. Obviously, we'll debate these things if need be, but the redemption is for the children of Israel, and those children of Israel, they can be called Gentiles. They have been called Gentiles, and they are moving like the Gentiles. Right, verse 69. And I've raised up a horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David. And a horn is power, right? Horn is a representation of power. It says, and has spake, excuse me, by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. Right? So are we on? Verse 72, to perform the mercy promised to our fathers and to remember his holy covenant. So this act of salvation and deliverance is not just some a bill of rights act or the act of whatever or the bill of whatever. This is an oath, right? And the Most High said when he's going to do something, and he's going to do it. Whether it's our judgment, whether it's our growth, our demise, hey, that's going to happen, man. Right? I had a few precepts, right? Let's go to these precepts, man. Because the Bible, that's why there's a slave Bible. So about slave Bible is used also to indoctrinate people, but there's more to the Bible than just a couple. It's verses on salvation and deliverance and rebellion against your oppressor, man. So Psalms 103 and verse number 6. The Lord executeth righteousness and judgment for all that are oppressed. So when you see these random black women going disappearing, right, in the woods, right, when you see these things like ICE, where they target certain minorities within certain communities in the South American region, right? Because really, when you go into that, he was in the British Museum, and on the American map, it showed you, right? Let's see if we can pull it up. America. See, Native American tribes before colonization, right? But this is their land. Now they're getting rid of everything. This is really the land of the natives, man. Right? This was the exact map, I think it was, that you find in the British Museum. And it shows you, right? I don't know if he's Indian, but we don't know, right? But point being, even the names of these places, it says like Dakota, Ponca, right? Omaha, like Omaha Beach, really. So I like that. That's in Japan, right? But really, hey, these are natives, man, right? So when you see these things happening, like natives being the play, and it goes back to that Trail of Tears, where they were displaced from certain, you can't make a bill. How do you make a bill? That's why I told you to not remove the ancient landmark. Right, I'm back in like Proverbs 23, verse 2 maybe. Right, you remove the ancient landmark, you displace the people, right? That's all confusion, man. Right, so you have, what else do I have? Right, and even this one's another one. It's called Lake Lanier. So I think I've seen this in the Atlanta episode, with Charles Gambino. It says before Lake Lanier in Georgia was built, the area held a small established community named Oscarville. In 1912, racial terror and forced expulsions drove out the black residents. Decades later, the U.S. government used eminent domain to flood the area for the Beaufort Dam, creating Lake Lanier. And you have the same thing, right, of A Road in in West London, which displaced Caribbean, right? It displaced Caribbeans that were living in there, right? And that's a form of racism, right? So decades later, intense gentrification and rising property prices replaces Afro-Caribbean character and long-term residents with high-end boutiques and affluent homeowners. But there was literally a whole road that they built. They built like an A road, right, over that communities where they were living, and that displaced the people. Yeah, look, see that the A40 elevated dual carriageway, and you have more of this takes place obviously in Babylon than it does here, because we are here. There's not we're not there's not a lot of us here. There's the A40 elevated dual carriageway known as the Westway, slides through North Kensington and Ladbroke Grove in West London during the 1960s. Its construction demolished hundreds of homes and severely disrupted the local West Indian and Caribbean community that had settled there. You see that? So all this, that's oppression. That's oppression where you can't even live there. Hold on, make it expensive, bring these people in, right? So that's Psalms. And even this was one boy. He was going about his day, going to school, right? And murdered by some insane man, right? He had a samurai sword, right? But going back to it, Psalms 106, I think it's 106. It's Psalms 106 and verse 8. Nevertheless, he saved them for his name's sake, that he might make his mighty power to be known. So the Most High, hey man, we're not going to be here forever. All right. So let's see if I got more specific precept I looked at. Psalms 42. All right. Psalms 106 and verse number 42. It says, I'll start at verse 40. Psalms 106 and 40. Therefore was the wrath of the Lord kindled against his people, insomuch that he abhorred his own inheritance. So, hey, it says verse 41, and he gave them into the hand of the heathen, and they that hated them ruled over them. So that's why why are we in this condition? Hey, because we don't listen. We're stiff-necked. That's why we're being judged. That's why we're going through these atrocities. That's why we have instability within our home. That's why we're not getting married. That's why we have these severe health issues, because we want to do our own will. Right? I read a precept. What's it saying, man? I think I was looking at the word sin in the Zondervan, right? And you wouldn't even guess what it said the definition of sin is. If you know Tazipa. I don't know if you might know. Anyone can guess, but you think about it. You think, maybe 1 John 3 and 4. It said the first act of sin was by the act of free will. Showing you, we don't have free will. Do that free will you want to do, that's sin. And that's really because we didn't obey the Most High. Verse 42. It says, their enemies also oppressed them, and they were brought into subjection under their hand. So you're still in subjection. Yes, you. People say, I'm a Christian. I told someone, yeah, we're in slavery. We're still in slavery. We're still no, me, I'm free. And they're trying to quote Galatians 4. Right? No, they'll say something, I'm free. In Christ, I'm free. Hey, Christ was in slavery. What the hell are you talking about? Nah, me, I'm different. I'm different. I'm a bit different. I have the Holy Spirit. Right? Hey, Christ Christ was in oppression, man. Christ was a slave, right? Because he was an Israelite in the time of the Roman captivity. But you apparently you were free. It says their enemies oppressed them, and they were brought into subjection under their hand. So when you look at our people today, man, hey, you're living in hell, right? You're living in hell. Oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Right? You're living in, right? You are literally living in hell, man. But the Most High can deliver us out of it. This estate that condition we're in, right? Because hell can be the grave, right? This is the book of 2 Samuel 22, verse 4. I will call on the Lord. Hey, we put quick precept. Salakia. Now I got these two and I'll pass it. Revelation 2 and 10. Right? Even Christ said that. Christ said in Matthew 24, hey, be what do you say? Christ literally said, and they shall cast some of you into prison. But this is not the precept I'm quoting, but you should be brought before the judges, essentially, and be scourged. And read Matthew, I believe, it's either the 24th chapter or the 23rd chapter. These are the beginning of the end. Revelation 2 and verse 10. I got two more after this and I'll pass it. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. So the things, when you see our people suffering, especially if you're in this truth, you shouldn't be, okay, well, why is this happening? Why? And you know why it's happening, man. You read the scripture. You know why it's happening. That's why I see in this world, you got, obviously you can do what you can, but you kind of got in the time of Jacob's trouble, I ain't bringing it out to no one, right? I ain't bringing it. What about me? When I say no one, when I say no one, obviously we ain't bringing it out. Jacob's trouble is standing in the middle of I don't know, central London, trying to wave the hand. You ain't gonna be worried about that. You be out to deliver maybe your congregation, the people, the Israelites that you're with. Right, that's who you're gonna be. That's what you're gonna be trying to bring the word out to. He says, behold, the devil, and they show you the devil. So this is not a demon, right? It's not the devil. The devil is gonna cast you. Some demon is gonna cast you into prison. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. That's James 1, and I believe 12 went down. All right, so you have to be faithful unto death. All right, you have to be. Okay, well, I don't know, right? I didn't know. Hey, the devil. So talking about demon. This is literally, right? Esau, man. Right, or your adversary. Right. The spiritual demon Satan. He's not. Hold on. And he shapeshifts into damn Lucifer from that damn show that he got, and he's putting you into jail. This literally happens to our people at mass levels, right? Let's get another one. Right, Revelation 12 and verse. Revelation 12, I'll start at verse number. I'll start at verse number 3. Revelation 12 and 3. And this is a dark saying or parable talking about how Esau, so-called white man, right? How, he, because that's who Herod was. I believe it's Herod the Great. He was the one that, had the massacre of the innocents. Or done the massacre of the innocents. Revelation 12 and 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Right, that's going to your G10, G7, right? The bottomless pit, right? And really heads and horns, really going into your power, right? And 7 crowns upon his heads, right? It says in verse 4, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and the stars Going back to Genesis, I believe 15, right? The stars, right, going into that's Israel, man, right? Drew the third part of the stars and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. You see that? So his whole role is what, man? To put to keep us in this condition of bondage, the straight, the rock, a place between a rock and a hard place, right? I believe it is, right? That's his whole role. It's so back to Second Samuel, 2 Samuel 22, verse 4. It says, "I will call on the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies." If you have the biggest bazooka and it can target people with light and ultra rays and the bullets or whatever, that's not going to save you, man. Brother said, "Yeah, this is the ultimate Hebrew weapon." Right? He's trying to sell it. He's trying to sell it on Etsy, also under some private link, sent to Hebrew Israelite camps only. That's probably an agent, man. Or you're trying to sell this, buy this, and you're ordering it off Amazon. Right? That's not going to deliver you in the days to come. Right? It says, verse 5, "When the waves of death compassed me, the floods of ungodly men made me afraid." Right? So water representing what? Judgment. Right? Because the waves of death and the floods, like the enemy coming as a flood. Right? It says, verse 6, "The sorrows of hell compassed me, the snares of death prevented me." So the hell being that lower state, that bad condition that our people currently live in. All right, but you got it, Jim.
Yeah, can't. I Let me just quickly share my screen quickly. Just wanna
We'll wind down after this point as well.
yeah, can't. Um so yeah, can you see the screen, yeah?
Uh,
Alright, so look, I don't know if brothers heard about this, but this was another like a black community in Central Park. So before Central Park was built, the area between West 82nd and 89th Streets was home to Seneca Village, a thriving 19th century African American community. Established in 1825, it grew into Manhattan's first prominent community of free black property owners, offering residents stability, churches, a school, and voting rights. So this is something you won't really hear about. When you see Central Park, all you see is that big park. Let me get that in the middle of flipping New York. Do you know what I'm saying though? Like when really before they did that, before they knocked it down, you know what I'm saying? It was thriving, man. Look, see this? See that? Look at that. Look at that. In the middle of the biggest devilish city ever, there was a thriving black community, so-called black community. You get it? Yeah, it says founded in 1825 when landowners sold lots to free black New Yorkers. You know, so just like we're going into, like, do you know what I'm saying? Um, but this is what happened to it. So it says it's called Seneca Village. Yeah, was destroyed in 1857 when New York City used eminent domain to clear the land for the creation of Central Park. City leaders and newspapers used false, like Esau again, false negative descriptions to push out roughly 225 residents, erasing a thriving multi-ethnic community of free black owned property owners, Irish and German immigrants. I'm not sure about that, you know what I mean? But hey, that's what they're saying. So this was a thriving community. There wasn't a lot of them, but it was thriving. Do you know what I'm saying? They pushed them out with false this, false that, because Esau don't want to see Jake, do well. Basically, he wants to always have him oppressed, like it says in was it Ecclesiastes? I see servants on horses. Get me? So look, Black Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. We've all heard of this as well. Black Wall Street refers to the historic Greenwood district in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the early 20th century. It was one of the most affluent and self-sufficient African American communities in the United States, featuring its own banks, hotels, cafes, clothiers, movie theaters, and modern residences. Now look what it says here. It says by no, let me read. So segregation. Look, segregation forced. So this is how they rose. Yeah, this is that. You know how we used to be as a community. We'd come together. Do you know what I'm saying? So this is they call it segregation, which really there's nothing wrong with that. Like they say racism, like we're racist. Racist just means to love your own race and not go with other races. So there's nothing wrong with actually being racist or segregated, like because the Most High told us that in Leviticus 20 and 26. So look, it says segregation forced black residents to spend their dollars exclusively within the district, which accidentally, I don't know about that either. It says which accidentally created a booming circular local economy. Look, A1 prosperity included luxury items like private airplanes, high end automobiles, and grand professional offices. So you see that even when Jake comes together, obviously, they might not have been in righteousness, but I'm sure there was churches there, so there was some sort of righteousness being done. But look, when they get together and they start booming, Esau hates it. This is where the 1921, the Tulsa race massacre. So it says after unverified newspaper accusations involving a young black shoe shiner and a white female elevator operator. So I think there's actually like a film or something on this, I believe, where like a young Jake supposedly whistles or at a Edomite in a building, and then that's it. She runs, tells everything, tells the Edomites, and then that's it. So look, it says the violence lasted 2 days when a heavily armed white mob, partially deputized by city officials, invaded Greenwood. It says the destruction leveled 35 square blocks, burned over 1,200 to 1,400 homes and businesses, left up to 10,000 people homeless, and killed an estimated 75 to 300 people. Do you know what I'm saying? Like this is what Esau does, man. Esau is just like, when he sees Jake doing well, that's it. Like that's his cue to come down on us. And again, it's not always it's all of the Most High. Who's to say that these lot weren't turning up in wickedness? At the theater they weren't having like cabaret shows and some provocative stuff going on in there. You get me? You know how Jake is coming out with the suits and the hi hats, trying to beat Esau and that. You know, so not condoning or justifying what happened to them, but you know what I'm saying. Like it's all for a reason. So I want to get Nehemiah 4 and verse 7. Nehemiah 4 and verse 7. It says, but it come to pass that when Sanballat and Tobiah and the Arabians and the Ammonites and the Ashdodites heard that the walls of Jerusalem were made up and that the breaches began to be stopped, then they were very wroth. And that's what it is. When Jake is doing well within himself and his community, these other nations hate him. It gets them angry. You know, when we're out there teaching, and you know, like that unity camp we had last week, that was mighty. We had all camps, most brothers come down in it, and when the heathens walk past, they're you know, they're
Founded.
flabbergasted. That's the word, because they're like, no, these lot are actually standing in order. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's saying the were made up. It says when they heard that the walls of Jerusalem were made up and that the breaches began to be stopped, then they were very wroth. Yeah, very mad. And then verse 8 it says, and conspired all of them together, not just Esau now. You know, you have all the other nations. They conspired together to come and fight against Jerusalem and to hinder it. And that's we're always gonna see that until we come back to our nationality and these laws and the faith in Yahweh Shai. We're always going to see this, man. So we can't be surprised when we see our people, like, you know, might start having businesses, might start owning like certain clothing lines or all of that. But eventually, if they're not keeping the commandments, this is all going to be for naught, you know, because eventually something's going to cause them to go against their integrity. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what it is. It's like it says about like a nail between the bricks. Like, you know what I'm saying? But let me get Second Maccabees, Second 5 and verse 1. That's it. Second Maccabees 5 and verse 1. It says, now when the nations round about heard that the altar was built and the sanctuary renewed as before, it displeased them very much. Again, what are we doing? We're building up the tabernacle. You know, we're building up that church. We're coming back together. We're having order amongst our people. We're having, like, you know, having you know, men ruling well. You know what I'm saying? The elders showing us the way. Do you know what I'm saying? When the heathens see this, they are very displeased. You know, at verse 2, Maccabees 5 and verse 2, first Maccabees 5 and 2, it says, wherefore they fought to destroy the generation of Jacob that was among them, and thereupon they began to slay and destroy the people. It's like every book is just a what's it, a re I won't say a regurgitation, but that's basically what it is. It's just the same thing again and again and again, and it's the same thing today. You know, verse 3 it says, then Judas fought against the children of Esau in Idumea at Arabatan, because they besieged Israel, and he gave them a great overthrow and abated their courage and took their spoils. You know, so even then, like, you know, Judas and the brothers, they weren't, you know, they weren't backing down in it. They were giving Esau a good fight. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, we're mighty in it. We're mighty in this truth. We're mighty when we got Yahweh Shem Shai behind us. There's no what can man do unto us? You know, I'm sure there's a account with Judas and there was only a few of them, man. They went into war praying and fasting and that, calling on the name of Yahweh Shem Shai. And they put the enemy to flight, man. They actually put the enemy to flight. I'll get two more. I'll get Judith 5 and 20, the classic again. Judith 5 and verse 20. And it reads, uh, so Judith chapter 5 and verse 20, and it reads, now therefore Yeah, it says, now therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error in this people, and they sin against their God, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them. So, like I was saying, if like these, the Seneca village, Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Black Wall Street, if these lot were actually founded, rooted in Yahweh Bashim El Shai, maybe this stuff wouldn't have happened to them. It'd probably still be thriving today. Do you know what I'm saying? But like it says, if there be any sin in this people, error, and they sin against their God, this is their ruin. So this will always be our ruin, is if we don't keep these law, statutes, and commandments. And it says, verse 21, it says, but if there be no iniquity in their nation, let my Lord now pass by, lest their Lord defend them, and their God be for them, and we become a reproach before all the world. That's what would happen, man. If we kept the laws and the commandments, then we wouldn't have to go through these things that we go through today, like with with these nowadays lynchings, these modern day lynchings that are not even hitting the news. Do you know what I'm saying? Nolan Wells getting taken. Hey, there's another video. I don't know where it is. I'll have to find it, but another video of like some Jake, like in some little pond bit, like an island bit, and then there's these Edomites filming, and he's like, "Yeah, I can't swim. I can't swim. They left me here." Do you know what I'm saying? And then the Edomites have to save him, and even the one filming is like, "What? You can't swim?" You know what I'm saying? This wasn't Nolan Wells either. This is another scenario of the same thing. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, let me get one more now. I'll get one more. Jeremiah 50. Jeremiah 50 and verse 7. Jeremiah 50 and verse 7. And it reads, I'll start at 6. I'll start at 6. Jeremiah 15:6. It says, my people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. And that's what we see. The leaders of our people, whoever they may be, you might have pastors, you might have, teachers or whatever. They've led us astray in it as a nation. They're not standing up for righteousness. You know what I'm saying? They're in the pocket of Esau. They're sitting around tables doing God knows what. You know what I'm saying? They're not for us. You get what I'm saying? So, verse 7, it says, all that found them have devoured them, and their adversaries said, we offend not. And that's what all these things they do to us, they actually say, look, we ain't done that. We ain't offended. Do you know what I'm saying? And why is that? Because it says, because they have sinned against their Lord, the habitation of justice, even the Lord, the hope of their father. So these other nations, when they commit these atrocities against us, when they do all manner of wickedness against us, they say that they haven't done anything, because they're the ones that sinned against their Most High. And that's, for the heathens to even know that, you know what I'm saying? That's why it says in Ezekiel, if we was if it, if it was if we was if the word was sent to these nations, they would listen. Why don't we listen when we're trying to show our own people that these things are happening because we're not listening to the Most High, because we're not reverencing Him, we're not serving Him how we're supposed to, you know. But Khan, you got it, King. You got it, King.
Right. Yeah, I'll press the one silent. I've got one more. It's from the top of my head. That's it. Alright, numbers. Yeah, kind of thinking, is the Most High God is going to do anything? Are we just waiting, or are we just, hey man, like it says in Amos 3 and 1, we're being punished for our iniquities. We go through these things because of what we done, right? But we have to have the patience, faith of the saints. And even the saints is different again. Because I was kind of searching this and I was kind of doing my research, right? It tells you that saints is a member of God's covenant people, Israel. But that's not even, that's without precepts, but, in the Zondervan dictionary, what it says. But this is the number. Say that again?
I said, there you go, there you go.
Right. Wasting time going through bare precepts. It's in the Zondervan. This is the book of Numbers 14 and 17. Now I beseech thee, let the power of my Lord be great, according as thou hast spoken, saying, the Lord is long suffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression, and by no means, I'll read it again, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation. All right, so Most High, I forgot. He left us. Most High hears the sighs and the cries. I told you in Revelation 18 about the sins have reached up to the heavens. So you got to hold fast, man. You got to hold fast and strengthen the things that remain. Build yourself up in this truth. Right? Gather with brothers and sisters. Stop being an individualite. Right? Stop having a spirit of fear. Right? And remember that the Most High, He's long suffering and mercy. You can read that in the book of Wisdom, Solomon 4, and I believe it's 15. Wisdom, Solomon 3 and 9. That mercy is saints, man. So, with that, say all praise to Yahweh Shem Shai. Say, Lord, when you're edified, come inshallah. Shalom.
Shalom.